Hello, lovely people on YouTube. This is Laughing Samurai, and I'm back again for another episode of SWTOR Live. And once again, for those that have watched my live videos before, I apologize. I've actually deleted all the previous episodes of my live videos because I really wanted to have a fresh start on this. I felt that the first videos I did were just terrible. And I got sidetracked, so I kind of lost the flow of things. So I decided to start afresh, and hopefully I stay consistent this time. Now, in addition to make the videos a little bit more, I think how I've decided to, to name the title of each episode is a little bit more thought through. I've decided that for each episode, I would zoom in on one little part of the game. In the last video, the episode 1, I focused on the character creation for my Jedi Knight, and also in general for all the classes. But I focused more on the Jedi Knight, of course. But in episode 1, the idea was to reintroduce to players that have just returned to the game how things have changed for the character creation page, and to introduce to new players, basically how to create their own characters and what it looks like when you create your character. Okay, so I'm going to continue playing my Sentinel now. So because my main JK, my main Jedi Knight character is a Guardian, I've decided to do a Sentinel this time. Now, one thing I did yesterday at the end of the game was I actually recreated I had to delete this Sentinel and recreate it one more time with the exact same details, because I realized I spelled the name wrongly. So I recreated it this time. Basically, it was supposed to be Usika or Tesuk, but I missed out the K, so I decided to recreate that, and then I put the K in. So you'll notice that when I left the game yesterday, I was at level 4, but now I'm at level 5. So anyway, let's get back into the game. Hope you guys don't mind. Let me just switch on my FPS checker. Okay, so we're back. Okay, so for today, I like to focus a little bit more on the character window. So, the character sheet window. So if you go to the top of I'm going to move my cursor up here. You will notice these icons at the top of your screen. Okay, if you move your cursor over the man, okay, it will see a long list: character sheet, inventory, abilities, combat proficiencies, legacy, and login and season's rewards. I'll go into all of that slowly. Let's start with the character sheet, shall we? So if you go to character sheet, things have changed quite a lot since the last, I think, from previously. For those that have just returned to the game, you would notice by now the character sheet is very different. It actually fills up one whole page instead of, it used to be half screen, but now it's a full screen. And this time they've actually they've allowed you to they've actually merged the character sheet with the inventory, so you don't have to open up, because previously you had to open up your inventory and your character sheet separately to see what you're equipping your character with. But now you can actually do both of that at the same time. All you got to do is, you can move your cursor over the man and move down to character sheet here, or you could just press the C button and it will just, load up. Okay, and this is my Jedi Knight. So for the Sentinel carries 2 blades. The Guardian only carries 1 blade. And this tells you a lot about the difference between the Guardian and the Sentinel. The Sentinel, the idea for Sentinel is to focus a lot more on combat. Okay, saber fighting. So it's important that you get really good sabers for your Sentinel, and whatever stats and whatever skills you pump later on for your skill tree, for your combat proficiencies, you want to focus more on saber dueling, because that's the main focus of the Sentinel. The Sentinel is not focused on force powers. Yes, all Jedi rely on the Force, but for the Sentinels, their main focus is saber combat. Okay, they still depend on the Force, but they depend on the Force for saber dueling. And so, for the Guardian, it's sort of a mix of both. You've got to be good with the Force and good with the saber as well. And so the stats might be a little different. So for this, because you are actually carrying two sabers, like I said, your focus of the Jedi Knight Sentinel is to be good at lightsaber duels, which means that, hold on, I'm going to, okay, I've actually switched out one of my blades with a new one. I'm waiting for another one. This is my offhand blade. Okay, and that being said, okay, you will look on the left. Okay, you've got damage, survivability, and support. Okay, now for the I'll come back to combat style in just a bit. Now the idea now, to me, honestly, I think Sentinels are good enough for tanking, but the Jedi Knight Sentinel for this game is not designed for tanking. So when you go to combat style and you look at the 3 different disciplines, they're all DPS. Okay, you see DPS, DPS, DPS. DPS meaning damage per second or damage over time. DPS or DOT. Now it could be a hybrid of both, but in any case, for me, I'm probably going to go with Watchman or Combat. Okay, so I'll talk about the combat styles in just a bit, but you can see clearly that the Jedi Knight is designed in this game to focus on combat support rather than tanking. So in that case, you know, for me, I'm pretty okay with tanking with my Sentinel. I haven't played the Sentinel very long. I've only played it for a while. So there are other people that have played Sentinels for a long time and they might disagree with my opinion, and that's perfectly okay. I still think that since a Sentinel is supposed to be good at dueling, they should be fine with tanking raids or things or missions, okay? But since the game has created the Sentinel in such a way that it's meant for support rather than tanking, it makes very good sense. So if you go back to this page on the left side, you would see that of all the stats, it's got damage, survivability, and support. Support has the highest here, followed by damage. Okay, now survivability is not the focus. I mean, I'm not saying that your Sentinel should not survive. You still want your Sentinel to have good survivability because you want to stay alive in battle. But the main focus of the Sentinel, why survivability is at the lowest, is because Sentinel's goal is not to tank, but to support. That means you're not supposed to charge in head first into battle. You're supposed to let the tanks go in and you provide the damage. Okay? Either to the boss or to the smaller guys. Okay, let's see. So damage 91, DPS, approximate damage dealt per second by a standardized ability based on the character's attack stats. Survivability, DPS, again, approximate incoming danger damage per second required to defeat the character within 30 seconds based on their survivability stats. Okay, and of course support, approximate healing dealt per second by a standardized ability based on the character's support stats. So in a sense that now, okay, please don't start trying to heal everyone as a sentinel. That's not your goal. Your goal as a sentinel is to deal as much damage to the enemy as you can as a supporting character, not as the main character. Always remember this, that when you're playing a sentinel, your goal, if you're in a raid, if you're in a group, you're going for a co-op mission with other players, try not to charge in head first, okay? And see how you can provide damage support to either to the elite characters or to the champion characters or to the weak, the lesser enemies, okay? And now let's click on now if you go to this part, character details, it's just below the word support 104. There's this little button here called details. Click on that and it brings up all the stats for your character in this case. So let's take a look at the stats for my Jedi Knight. I've got 97 mastery, an 83 endurance, power 4, critical 2, alacrity 0, accuracy 2, defense 0, absorb 0, shield 0, presence 565. Now for all Jedi, presence is absolutely important. Okay, it is very important. Hold on a second. Okay, now allow me, for those of you that are playing Star Wars for the first time, let me just explain to you what all these different stats mean, okay? So for mastery is basically the primary attribute for all classes, okay? So it increases aptitude in combat. And basically, you want all your characters... Okay, let me just rewind a little bit, okay? Now, in this game, you have 4 base statistics that you need, stats that you need your character to have. The first one is mastery, the second one is endurance, third one is presence, and the last one is effectiveness, but that's not so much of an issue here right now. The expertise is no longer it's no longer required in the game. After one of the patches, they removed expertise, I believe, as one of the base attributes. So right now there are only 3 left that you need to focus on: mastery, endurance, and presence. Okay, so mastery is is basically combat aptitude. Your character's aptitude, not in the force but in fighting. So it doesn't matter whether you are Jedi or whether you are trooper, whether you are a spy aka agent, or whether you're a smuggler or Sith, it doesn't matter. You want all your characters to have very good mastery, okay? Mastery of the force and mastery of combat, okay? You want them to fight well. Endurance is basically your ability to survive in battle, which affects your survivability in the game. So if you look on the left side of your character sheet again, you can see damage, survivability, and support. These 3 are affected by your base stats and of course all your other stats attributes as well. But the 3 most important are mastery, endurance, and presence. Okay, you've got to really push those up. If you don't have good endurance, you're gonna die really fast in the game. Okay, so you want to have high mastery, high endurance, and most importantly, just as important, your presence. Okay, presence increases the effectiveness of the player's companions. Okay, so if you have high presence, okay, your companions that you will acquire later on throughout the game, your companions do a significant amount of damage and healing as well. And so you want your companions to heal fast and fight fast, and you want them to do, and even when they attack the enemy, you want your companions to do a lot of damage. So if you've got good presence, it increases your companions' aptitude in combat and their effectiveness as well. Okay, it also improves the efficiency and critical rate of crew skill. Okay, basically, if you have more presence, now crew skills will come to that later on, but basically it has to do with all the crafting stuff where you make sabers and guns and armor, right? If you've got good presence, your crew will actually it might actually reduce the time it takes for your characters to craft items. We'll talk more about that when we come to crew skills, but for now just focus on attributes. So these three base, mastery, endurance, are important, and presence. Mastery is important for combat, endurance is important for survivability, and presence affects your companions. Okay, now let's go into the secondary ability. Now for the secondary abilities, but before I go that, let me just wrap up one more thing about the base attributes. Okay, mastery, endurance, and presence, you want to get all that up. So if we go back, if you look at my practice blade here, which I attached. Sorry if the quality, if the graphics aren't good. My laptop, I need to switch to a different laptop soon because this one's not doing too good anymore. It's been with me for 2 years, but it's starting to slow down a little bit, getting a bit rusty, getting a bit weak, and given the high, the large number of people, the high traffic on Typhon right now and on the server, so my processing speed is a little slow. So that's why my FPS is right now at my frame per second is about 24.2. Effective FPS is 21.5. So am I correct? Checking it later, but I think it's about 28. Yeah. So my FPS is about less than 30 right now. Not very good. Let me go to the cantina so that we have better graphics. Okay. Cantina is the best place. Instant. See? So now the FPS has gone up to 39 and maybe even to 40. Okay, so back to the character page. Details again. So let's look at my blade. Okay, after I switched out my first blade, you can see my stats have gone up 5 mastery, 5 endurance, 2 power, 2 critical rating, and 66 horsepower. Okay, and okay, that's good. Now let's go on to the secondary abilities. Secondary attributes, which are essential depending on what class you're playing. So if you're playing a Jedi Knight, okay, Jedi Knights are mostly on combat, okay, so as in saber dueling. And for the Sentinel, the difference between the Guardian and the Sentinel is Sentinels, they're good at duel. Their focus is primarily on dueling, on saber combat, but not tanking. The Guardians tank because the Guardians get to use both the saber and the force a bit more. The reason the Guardians are using only one saber is because they have to be good at the use of the saber, but also they are also a little bit more focused. They basically, if you think about it in real life, if you are a Jedi and you're holding one saber, if you're holding 2 sabers, it is very hard for you to do what Satele Shan did in the trailers. Right? Even with a double-bladed lightsaber, it doesn't make sense. Okay? For this one anyway, so for the Guardian, you need to be good in sense that you want to be good in saber battle and also have you want to be good at using your force powers as well. The Sentinel is focused on the damage. Okay? Focus a lot more on the saber dueling and the damage. And so because of this, for the Jedi Knight in general, you want to have attributes that improve your damage and your survivability when it comes to saber combat. Okay, you want your damage to be pretty high. Okay, and so let's go into the hold on. Okay, so for your okay, for offensive, okay, you really want your knight to be good with critical rating. You want to boost the critical rating of your Jedi Knight, whether you're Guardian or Sentinel. The critical, so basically, because you want to do as much damage to your enemy as you can, and so you want to boost the critical rating of this. When you increase the critical rating of your character, okay, it increases the damage done to the enemy. Okay, now what about the other? So critical rating increases attack damage. Alacrity is about speed, how fast your character fights, and accuracy increases you know what accuracy is, whether your character hits the enemy or not, basically. Okay, so I don't think you have to worry too much about. Okay, frankly speaking, I don't think accuracy is an issue. I don't think it's necessary. I think, to me, I think alacrity is more important for saber combat. Like, if you ask me, in battle, okay, if I'm fighting somebody up close, there is no issue about. I mean, there is probably going to be some. I'm probably going to need to be accurate. I have to hit the person, right? I have to make sure my saber actually hits the person. But if you're up close with the person, you don't really worry too much about accuracy, do you? So for me, I would say I would just boost the alacrity and the critical rating of my character. Okay, next one. So for my Sentinel, I would avoid focusing on accuracy. Okay, so of the three offensive attributes, I would focus more on critical rating and alacrity rating for my Sentinel. I don't really want to do too much on accuracy. Now, I might be wrong. For those of you who've played the Sentinel before and you think that my point of view is incorrect, I welcome any advice. I welcome any comments. It could help me to improve my skill as a player playing the Jedi Knight Sentinel. But for me, I'm just going to focus more on critical and alacrity. Now, for defensive, you want your basically you want to improve your defense so that you can survive longer. Even though survivability is not of the three, damage, survivability, and support. Survivability is the least of your worries because you're not a tank, but you should still have good stats for your survivability because you want to stay alive in battle. So you got to have some good defense. Okay, so defense is important. You want to improve your armor rating. You want to make sure that your enemy does not do as much damage to you as possible. Okay, and you want to make sure that not only do you want your enemy to reduce his or her damage done to your character, you want to make sure you avoid being hit by your enemy, especially long-range opponents that use guns to fight. They use rifles and blasters to fight. Okay, so but we got come to that. So defense. Okay, for defense attributes, you've got three of them: absorption, defense rating, and shield rating. Okay, absorption rating is the percentage of damage prevented when an attack is absorbed by the player's shield, and this is applicable if you have a shield equipped in your offhand slot. Okay, I don't really have a shield here. I've only got an offhand blade. So for that, So that's why you can see my absorption rating is 0 here. I'll come to that just really quickly. Now, absorption rating is important if your character is carrying some kind of item in the offhand. It means in his second hand, and like a shield, right? And you want the shield to absorb the damage. You don't want, basically you want your armor and you want your shield to absorb the damage. In fact, you want the shield to absorb the damage before your armor takes damage. Make sense? Okay, now defense rating basically is the chance to avoid incoming attacks broken down by attack type. So basically you want to reduce the damage done to you, and you want to be able to avoid as many attacks as you can. Shield rating, the chance that incoming energy or kinetic damage will be reduced by the player's shield. Okay, again, this is only applicable if you have a shield equipped in your offhand slot. For me, it doesn't matter whether it's shield rating or absorption rating for Sentinel. I would say your defense has to be good. Your defense rating has to be good, in my opinion. Okay? I don't know if they actually do defense for Sentinel. I think for Sentinel, they'll probably get you to focus more on your force, on your power. To me, power is not really important for Sentinels, but I guess for this game, for the game, they've designed the Sentinel to actually require more power. Okay, so defense, I would say that if you're getting any kind of, if you're trying to improve the attributes of your Sentinel, you may want to focus more on defense. I think absorption and shield, it's not so much of a concern. That probably applies more to the trooper or to the bounty hunter. Okay, and then for power attributes. Now, power attributes are very important for all the Jedi and the Sith, okay? Whether you're playing Jedi Knight, Consular, Sith Warrior, Sith Inquisitor, power is absolutely important, okay? It increases damage and healing bonuses added to abilities. But also think of power as in the Force, your reliance on the Force, okay? So, of course, the more power you have, the better. Okay, and especially force power. Now, you've got 3 types of power stats. You've got power, force power, tech power. Now, the one you need to focus more on is power, and possibly a little bit on the force power, because you are a Jedi, which makes absolute sense. You need force power. Okay, Jedi without force power is ridiculous. Okay, it doesn't make any sense. So, the Jedi and Sith rely heavily on the force, so you definitely need force power. So power, regular power increases damage and healing bonuses. You definitely need a lot of power when you want to fight. This increases your damage and possibly even support or survivability. Okay, and the force power does the same, so you want to have a lot of power and force power in your stats. And right now, so that's pretty much it. Let me just summarize everything I said. For the main 3 stats that you look here on the character sheet: damage, survivability, support. For the Jedi Knight Guardian, you need a lot of damage and a lot of survivability. Okay, you still need support. You need some support stats for your Jedi Knight Guardian, but damage and survivability matter more for Jedi Knight Guardian, because the Guardian is a tank, is designed to be a tank. So you need a lot of damage and you need to survive. For the Sentinel, your focus is on damage support. So you need more support and damage. Okay? And for your 3 categories, so the 4 categories of stats, of attributes. The first group of attributes are your base attributes: mastery, endurance, presence. You want to get as much presence, mastery, and endurance as possible. Critical must have. For your Second group of attributes: accuracy, alacrity, criticality. I would say critical rating and alacrity are much more significant for, much more important for both the Guardian and the Sentinel. Okay, as long as you're playing Jedi Knight, my opinion is that critical rating and alacrity are most important. Critical being more important than alacrity, of course. You will definitely need some defense. So for Jedi Knight Guardian, you will need a lot of defense because you are a tank. You need to increase your survivability. So if you're playing a tank, Jedi Knight Guardian tank, you need a lot of defense rating. You will need probably some good absorption or shield rating. Okay. For the Sentinel, you don't have to worry about your absorption or shield, but having some of that would be good, and having good defense rating would also be helpful. But it's not a priority because you're not a tank. So if you get some good defense rating for your Sentinel, that's good, right? Improves your survivability, but it is not crucial. Okay, it's not the most important. Okay, now the last group is power. This one you need to focus a lot on for Sentinel, because for all the Jedi classes and all the Sith classes, you want to have as much power, and especially Force power, in your stats, because they rely heavily on the Force, and they will definitely need a lot of power to get damage done. Okay, so alright, so that's all. Let's get to the game. Now I'm off to meet the Jedi Council.
Yes. Yes.
Again, apologize for the
I'm sorry, but no.
Thanks.
the quality. Again, my computers are getting a little old, slow now, and the high traffic on Titan right now is affecting the frame per second for my game.
I searched the temple archives. This Force user leading the Flesh Raiders never received Jedi training.
Then the Sith have found us. Shouldn't we get ready for them?
Calm yourself, Padawan. We can't be certain of anything yet.
But we've all sensed a growing darkness. Perhaps it's finally revealed itself.
Someone want to bring me up to speed? We're just having a nice end-of-the-world chat.
Everyone, this is the Padawan who saved our people in the training grounds. This is Master Kiwix and her extremely vocal Padawan, Kira. The other masters are transmitting from distant worlds.
It's unfortunate our numbers are scattered.
Indeed. The temple's safety is unexpectedly threatened. The Flesh Raiders were disorganized primitives before today.
They carry blasters and work like an army. We need to find out why.
The man leading the Flesh Raiders probably wasn't acting alone.
Much of Tython remains unexplored, and we have few resources to spare.
I'll handle it with the help of my new Padawan.
Orgus, you haven't taken a Padawan since Coruscant.
The Force is strong in her, stronger than I've seen in decades.
I can think of no finer master to complete this Padawan's training.
I'll complete my final trials once we've dealt with the Flesh Raiders.
That is what you should aspire to, Kira.
You'll find supplies in my chambers downstairs. Go equip yourself. I'll meet you there.
Looks like I picked the wrong response this time. I was going to pick me neither. And I don't know why I picked the first one. Oh well. Looks like I've got to switch laptops soon. This computer's still things now.
past those council meetings. I'd die of old age before my colleagues ran out of things to say.
Have you always felt this way about your fellow masters?
Don't misunderstand, they're good people. I just prefer to get things done. This situation has come to you fast. You're braving dangers many Jedi never face. I wouldn't blame you for having questions. This may be the only time to ask them.
I get the impression you haven't had a Padawan for years. Why did you ask to train me?
As Jedi, you learn to trust your instincts. When I met you in that cave, my instincts told me that I was meant to train you. I don't know why or for what purpose, but the living force brought us together for a reason.
I don't much care for mystical philosophy, but whatever floats your speeder.
Anyway, to find our hidden enemy, we'll need allies. There's a group of Twi'lek pilgrims on Tython. They've been fighting the Flesh Raiders for months. The Republic asked us to deny those Twi'leks aid. They settled here illegally, but frankly, we need them.
How are they violating the law?
When Tython was first rediscovered, the Twi'leks petitioned the Senate to settle here. Their claim was denied, too dangerous, but they came anyway. The Twi'leks have a settlement in the mountains. That's your next stop. Establish a base camp and speak to the matriarch. Find out everything the Twi'leks know about Flesh Raiders.
If the Twi'leks won't share what they know, how far can I push them?
Don't push. Bend. Show those people we're here to help. I'll join you soon. May the Force be with you.
Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you all for joining me for live. I think I'm going to sign off now because I need to think of a way to boost my frame per second, my FPS. Probably got to switch to a new laptop. Okay, so this is Laughing Samurai signing off.